Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
Hi everyone, Sue here from 1A Auto, and today we have an 07 Honda Accord in the shop, and we're going to be showing you how to do a front brake service. If you need those parts or any other parts for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1aauto.com. 19mm socket to loosen up the lug nuts. Now I'm going to raise and support my vehicle with my 2-post lift. You can use jack stands with jack. And now we're clear to remove the tire. First thing I'm going to do is remove the boot for the caliper bleeder. And we're going to break that open and make sure it moves. 10mm wrench. Nice and smooth. I'm just going to lightly snug it so that I can break it free once it's hanging. 12mm socket. We can break free the caliper mounting slider bolts. There's two, one on the top, one on the bottom. So now I'm going to look at the caliper slider bolts. They both look good shape, nothing's wrong with them. I can take a pry bar now and just pry my caliper off from the caliper bracket. And while that's out, I can look at it, make sure the dust boot's not torn. There's no fluid leak. I'm going to take my tool that pushes the caliper piston back, snug it up. Before I start to push that piston back, I can open that bleeder screw again, aim it at the bucket I have down below to catch the brake fluid. At this time, I'm going to feel out the caliper piston. It's going back really smooth, no glitches, it's not frozen, and no fluids coming out of the dust boot. So we have a good seal. Once that's snug, I can retighten my bleeder screw. $17mm socket, and now we're going to break free the caliper bracket to knuckle bolts. There's just two of them, one top, one bottom. Now we have the bracket with pads in it. There's the front rotor. So now all we have to do is take the pads out of the bracket. And that's basically, if they're frozen in there, you can take a hammer, or I just squeeze them sometimes. There's the outer pad and the inner. I'm noting where the indicator is on the inner pad. Here we have our front rotor for a 07 Honda Accord from 1A Auto. And here we have our set of pads. They come pre-shimmed. They have the beveled edges to allow the brake dust to disperse evenly. Both inner and outer pad have that marking, and they both come with the shims. The rotors are a nice cross-cut. They have the manufacturer's amount of vented specs, and it has the actual specs stamped on it. Here we have a rotor that we took off. It's probably not original equipment. So if you need these parts or any of the parts for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1aauto.com. Now I'm going to clean the surface of the hub. Use a little brake clean. You can see all that dirt and grease come right off. And just use a nice wire brush. We don't want any raised rust lines. I just want to point something out here. So someone has done a brake job on this car, probably in the past 8 months or so, and you can see the groove lines. They took what we call a grinder wheel or a whizzer cookie and they just went to town on this hub. There's a couple of problems with that. That is shaving the metal off. You can see the actual marks. The car is probably, it's an 07, so it's 12 years old. It's up there in age. The customer's never going to feel a pulsation, but you need to keep this down to a minimal of how much metal you take away from a hub on a mounting surface. So now we're going to clean up our front caliper bracket. First thing I'm going to do is clean the tins while they're in the bracket. It's easier to hold on to them. Do that to both sides. Now we can take the tins off. Let's clean out the surface that they mount to. See that right there? Like it's layers of rust. That's what I want to avoid. So I can chip away that, that'd be great. What happens there is that rust ends up swelling and pushing that tin up and makes that pad not slide in and out of the bracket. So we call that, it'll end up with uneven wear and premature wear. That's the whole point of doing what we're doing. That's much better. I'm going to clean the back side of the brackets here, the tins. These tins are in good shape. You can always order a set of tins with the brake job, so if you don't want to clean and you want to avoid this part of the job, it will go quicker. Plus you don't know if it's damaged until you take it apart. So it might be best for the few dollars it costs to be prepared and just change them out new every time. Now I'm going to take the sliders out. And these are kind of stiff, so I don't know what I'm going to find when I take this out, whether it's damaged. I might actually take a pair of pliers to this. Nope, I got it. Wow. Okay, so either they put too much grease in there or they didn't clean it when they redid it. Let's look at the condition of this. Looks like it's going to be able to be reusable. Let's take the boot off. Really examine the boot. Make sure there's no pinholes. That looks good. I'm going to take the wire brush and clean inside there. I'm going to repeat that process on this side. I'm going to reinstall the boot. Both sides reinstall. Let's put some silicone paste right in there. This is water resistant, so hopefully it stops that rust buildup that we saw, that we took out. That only goes underneath, nothing on the top part of the tins. We want a smooth sliding surface. Okay. The rubber bushing always goes on the top caliper bracket. I don't know about always. That seems like it's always that way, especially with Hondas. Okay. Forgot to put some on the boot on the inside. Much smoother. Couldn't even turn it before. Perfect. Let's do the same on the other side. I've put the rotor on backwards so that I can clean the surface before I install it. I'm just getting the package oil off, the anti-rust they put on for when it sits on the shelf. I'm going to spray a little anti-seize lubricant on the hub. Now I can mount my rotor. This did not have any of the mounting screws. They must have fallen off in broke off in previous installations. I'm going to use a lug nut to hold that rotor flush to the hub. Now I can clean this surface of the rotor. Now we're ready to install our caliper bracket. We have an upper bolt, can't find it, and the lower bolt. Just going to snug these, then I'm going to torque them to the manufacturer's specs. 80 foot-pounds is the specs for these caliper to knuckle bracket bolts. Now we can put our pads in the caliper bracket. Put the inner one in first, and that's the one with the indicator, and it's on the top. Then the outer pad. Let's grab the caliper, ready to mount that. You'll see a flat spot on the sliders. Those line up with the angle of the caliper. I'm going to torque down the caliper slider bolt, and it's 26 foot-pounds. Last thing I'm going to do is reopen the bleeder screw and let it gravity bleed until I see a steady stream of fluid. Looks good, no air bubbles. Well, we can snug that up. Let's clean it. And reinstall our caliper bleeder screw cover. Now we're ready to put our wheel back on. I'm just going to snug them up by hand, then I'll lower it down on the ground with the weight of the vehicle on it, and I'll torque the wheel to 80 foot-pounds. 19mm socket, and we're going to torque the wheel to 80 foot-pounds in a star pattern. Double check. Now we're going to repeat the process on the other side.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.